Hello lovely people, how are you all doing? Blade of Maya here with a short but hopefully sweet video about hard swapping. This tutorial is targeted at players that might have heard about hard swapping in the past but never had the time or necessary resources to learn it themselves. There is another important thing that I have to mention before we start. Not knowing how to do something is not an excuse to not learn it. If there's one important life lesson that I can share with you all, it is following. If you feel resistance to do or learn something, it's 99% a sign that the thing you're feeling resistance towards is worth doing. Take me for example. For me it was learning how to hard swap. I really had to push myself to learn how to do it, and in the end it paid off. Producing this video is a huge amount of resistance. I mean, I could be playing the game instead. That would be easier, right? Steven Pressfield wrote an amazing book called The War of Art that I can recommend to anybody out there. So this is a quote from the book. Like a magnetized needle floating on a surface of oil, resistance will unfailingly point to true north, meaning that calling or action it most wants to stop us from doing. We can use this. We can use it as a compass. We can navigate by resistance, letting it guide us to that calling or action that we must follow before all others. Like nothing else, hard swapping can completely change the experience of the game, not only for PvP but also for PvE. There's a lot of controversy behind hard swapping, but I leave that out of this video for now. If you want to learn it, then you've come to the right place. If you think hard swapping is a tool for tryhards and ruins your immersion of the game, then I'm sorry, you've come to the wrong place, and this video might not be for you. This video is split into 4 parts. The first part is about the basics. The second part is about controller handling and one tip that made all the difference when it comes to hard swapping, at least for me. In the third part, I'll show you a simple exercise that you can do to practice your swaps. And the fourth part talks about inventory management. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel for more Elden Ring related content. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. So the idea behind hard swapping is actually quite simple. All of you have done it thousands of times when playing through the game. You just hit start, go to the equipment menu point, select a slot that you want to change, and then select another weapon. And that's basically it. That's what we call a hard swap. Where it gets interesting though is if you try to do this while being pressured by one or multiple opponents. Which brings me already to the first tip. If you're in the menu, never close it like I do right now on screen by using the circle or back button. Instead, what you want to do is select your weapon and then hit the start button again to close the whole menu. You will get out of the menu much quicker that way. So now that we know what hard swaps are, let's talk about soft swaps really quick. Soft swaps are the method to change the weapon when you have multiple weapons equipped in different slots, and then you use the right or left D-pad to switch between those weapons. That's a soft swap. So in general, soft swapping can be more consistent since you only need to hit the D-pad to change your weapon, but for the consistency you pay a price in endurance, which means you need to have more points in endurance to not fat roll while having multiple weapons equipped that you can soft swap between. And that's already it for the basics. Let's jump into part 2. So the first thing I'm going to do in part number 2 is to change up my menu really quickly. So before I had the items ordered by item type, and now I'm going to order them by order of acquisition. We'll talk about that more in part 4 when we get to inventory management. For now, I'm just changing to this layout so I can have like my normal weapon layout that I use to hard swap. Let's talk about controller handling a bit. So the biggest challenge with hard swapping is once you get into combat. So let's pull this mob over here and let's try to just change the weapon mid-combat while he's attacking. And you can already see the first problem that's popping up. He's hitting us while we're in our menu trying to change our weapon. So what we can do is we can use the left analog stick to walk around But then it will get messy really quickly, since your left thumb needs to be on the analog stick, and then you need to change into this sort of claw-like position on your controller to complete the swap. And this is really the first big challenge that a lot of players face when they get into hard swapping, is this weird claw grip that you can see on screen right now. And sadly, this is an effect of the game, that this is just something you'll have to practice if you want to get good at hard swapping mid-combat. Just get used to the claw grip, and it might be worth it for other games as well. So yeah, at the beginning I learned doing this using the claw grip you see on screen right now, until I learned about CTS, which is the carpal tunnel syndrome, which is a common injury faced by gamers or artists that tend to use their hands a lot. So I really wanted to figure out a way to prevent a injury like this, which brings me to my first tip for anybody that's already hard swapping: get back pedals for your controller. Seriously, this changed my life and my hard swaps in so many ways. The ones I bought were $20, I think, the eXtremeRate RISE4 Remap Kit PS5 from Amazon. And you can see you can basically map any front button onto the back. So the left, or the right pedal is mapped to the circle button, the left pedal is mapped to the crouch button, and then there are 2 smaller pedals that you can map as well, and I've mapped my left one to the D-pad up, and I think the right one is unmapped because it's enough for me to have the circle button and the crouch button on the pedal. Super easy to install. You only need to have some basic soldering skills, get your friend that has a soldering iron to help you out, and yeah, highly recommend it. And it frees up so much. You can see here that I'm basically almost not touching the controller. I can roll, I can run around, and instead of having to use the bloody claw grip, I can now just enjoy swaps by just using my thumb instead of the index finger. So here I just hit start, double X, go to the weapon menu, select my weapon, and then hit start again. And all of this I can do while running. If you played a long time using the claw grip, it might take a while to get used to, but I promise you it's worth every dollar that you spend and every minute spent installing this bloody thing onto your controller. So yeah, I'll definitely not go back to the claw anytime soon. And that's it for part number 2. Let's jump right into part number 3. So the best way I've found to practice this without being in live combat in invasions or duels is just by practicing it on mobs. So what you basically do is you set yourself a challenge. Maybe you say, okay, after I kill one mob, I just change the weapon. And once you're proficient in this, then you can increase the challenge and tell yourself that after every hit you have to change the weapon. And the idea behind this is to build muscle memory. Hard swapping is not something that you can learn in one day. What you'll have to do is you have to make specific practice sessions. So for example, the last half hour of your gaming session, you're just going to practice hard swaps like you see on screen. And after 30 minutes, then you stop, go to sleep or do whatever, and then you come back the next day. And the first thing you do is practice hard swaps for half an hour. And then you play the game, do your invasions like you usually do, and then again, before your game session ends, do 30 more minutes of hard swap training until you build the muscle memory that you can use it in combat, in invasions, or even in duels. The best analogy I've found when it comes to hard swapping is fighting games. So in fighting games you usually have different characters with different movesets, and hard swapping is kind of similar as to you have to hit start and then double X and then a specific direction to the weapon that you want, and then start again. And this is also true for other hard swaps, for example talismans or equipment items. So for example, let's say you want to swap your talisman, then you hit start, down, 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 and then X, and then you choose your talisman, and then you can use I think R2 and R1 to switch to a specific slot. So here we have slot 2 and 3 and 4. I can swap, hit start, and then be done with it. Down, down, down again. And then I can start swapping the talismans back to the original position. I'm still not as proficient with talisman swapping. So yeah, practice makes perfect. Let's move on to the next part. So I guess no hard swap tutorial video is complete without talking about inventory management for a little bit. Elden Ring introduced the ability to sort your menu by acquisition, which in comparison to Dark Souls 3 allows for completely customizable menus, which is great. So how do you organize your menu? The first thing you'll want to do is to completely strip naked. Well, not completely, but at least remove your talismans and your weapons if you only want to sort those. Then sit at the side of grace and go to your chest and then select the tab with the weapons. Here on the left side we can see all of the weapons that are currently in our inventory. On the right side we see what's in the chest, and then we can use the L3 button to sort by type, and then I'm just like putting everything into my chest here. And once this is done, I can move over to the chest and just get out the weapons that I want for my menu. So here I'm just like picking a few claymores, then a few greatswords, and right now they're still sorted by item type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort them by order of acquisition, and now you can already see the order in which they will be represented in my menu. So let me actually go ahead and do a full inventory how I usually do it. So usually I have the chest sorted by acquisition date as well. So I usually have the weapons that I tend to use the most on the bottom. So my usual go-to is to just have like one row with a dagger at the first place, and then a few thrusting swords or heavy thrusting swords on the top row to easily swap to with R2. Then I usually have a few straight swords, followed by a stitcher or two. Or actually no, I'm now using the Morning Star. Then after that I'll have the two stitchers. Then after that I'll usually have my fun weapons on the left and right hand side. So the one fun weapon I like to use is the Stormhawk axe, if I can find it here. So yeah, there it is. Then I'll have my favorite toy, the Claymore, 3 times with different Ashes of War in the middle. So this is basically representing the center of my menu. Then the Nox Flowing Hammer, and then we'll already get to the heavy greatswords. So here I'm looking for the Ashes of War. So here the one with the darkness, and then the Storm Stomp. And you can easily switch between the item type view or the acquisition view if you want to just like quickly find the specific weapon that you need. So here I was looking for the Zweihander. Then I switch back to the order, and now I can see, okay, I have my 2 ultra great swords and my 2 Zweihanders. And then I think I'm going for the Omen Cleaver. And that's basically it for a small example menu. So now you can already see my layout, and if I go into the menu outside of the grace, there's already a first problem, which is that the shields and the ranged weapons are on top. This is because they're in a separate part of the chest menu, so you'll have to remove those from your menu, put them into the chest, and then bring the ones that you want back into the chest. So I'm going to do that really quickly here. So I'm just moving over the cannon, the bow, and the seal. And then I'm doing the exact same thing for the shields. So usually I have like a fixed set of shields, so it's super easy. Once I update my menu, I just like I put everything inside and take everything out. And now you can see I have a full one-page menu. And if you're just starting out with hard swapping, I can recommend that you keep this to 1 page so that you don't have to scroll up and down the list to select a specific weapon. It's also really easy to use R2 and L2 to jump up and down really quickly. So here you can see me like R2 will jump onto the top and L2 will jump to the bottom. And some great players like Harceru actually use this to hard swap to a shield mid-combat to parry, which is insane. Actually, let me show you a clip from one of his videos. So if you've seen this clip for the first time and are like me, you probably have no fucking idea what just happened. So let me break it down for you. So here Harceru sees the sword dance happening and predicts the follow-up from the sword dance, the hit down. He opens his menu and swaps to a parry shield. And after the successful parry, he opens his menu again and hard swaps to a dagger for the riposte. And that's how he does it. Really one of the fastest hard swappers I have seen so far. So yeah, it still may take a while until I'm at that level when it comes to hard swapping. One last tip that I have for you, like regarding menu layout. So I didn't start with this specific menu layout in mind myself. What I did is I just did what I always do, is copy great players. So I think I copied the initial menu layout from Chase the Bro and Harceru the first time I saw hard swapping, and then my personal menu has evolved over time just to fit my needs or my playstyle better. So on the left side you can see Harceru's layout that I've picked out from his video, and on the right hand side you can see a layout by G9. So if you want, you can use these templates as a starting point for your own weapon layout. And that's it. You've reached the end of the video. If you have any more questions, leave a comment in the comment section down below. I would appreciate a subscribe or a like on this video if you enjoyed the content, and see you guys next time. Bye.